account. And if it is not registered, what will happen? Any input? Let's say that you just met today informally and you're contributing. It is not written anywhere. So he sends 5,000, he sends, that money comes to me and it is in my bank account. Then something happens. And now we start arguing. So it is the words against mine. What will happen even if you go to a court of law or anyone? What will they say? There's no proof. Yeah. So once you decided to form a chama, it is very, very important. These days, it is very easy to register welfare groups. If you are in Nairobi, you can do that very quickly, and even at home in the county. It's very, very easy to do that so that you have a formal organization. If you go to the bank as a formal organization, it is also easier to get things done. So with that registered chama, if there are benefits for chamas, if Olmutual is giving some incentives to chamas, it will be very easy for you as a chama to get that. Rather than coming and you start telling story, you know, we've been doing this for the 10 years, there's no way you can leave us out, you guys are unfair. You see, the people who already have their chamas registered don't need to spend a lot of time convincing anyone that they're a chama. So registration is very key. And when you are doing your elections for officials, again, it's very key to know the roles for each and every individual. Because what people do is that they say it's the secretary or treasurer or chairperson, but there's nowhere where you've written what they can do and what they can't do. So sometimes you find that in some chamas, the chairperson actually they end up doing the work of the treasurer, the secretary, because you've not defined their roles and what they're supposed to do. So that's very, very common. You might find that the ones saving the money, that the ones doing the communications, and they have all the information about the chama in maybe their house or office. So it's very, very important that you understand the reason why you're governing that chama is because you want it to grow. You want it to have structures that can help you. And everything that you do, it doesn't have to be written in an academic way, but at least it should be agreed upon and written in a way that you can understand. For example, before you make investments, it is advisable that you have what is known as an investment committee, so that you write down the philosophies that you are going to use. Are you going to be waking up just at any point in time as a chairman, then you buy things, or are you going to put structure aside that all the investments that come in, they have to be reviewed, and you also have to look at the risk, and this is the level of risk that you can take. And if any idea comes in, will it just be implemented like that? Will you need to do due diligence? What about conflict of interest? Because that's something that is very big in chamas. You will find that there's an investment deal that is coming, but there's a member who is getting a cut behind the scenes. And they seem to be the ones who have all the bright ideas. And maybe because they're the smartest people in the chama, they're making all these investment decisions. And you are not able to express yourself, maybe your uncles or close relatives. And because of the structure of the African setup, is like when you're in a chama with your uncle, they're still your uncle. For me, I'm sorry, if I'm in a chama with anyone, it doesn't matter who they are. If I have to speak my mind, I'll do it. So that's how chama should be. Investment decisions have to be reviewed. And when you're doing your investment, you need to look at protection of wealth. So for chamas or groups or circles, they're usually very big on protecting wealth first. So if you know Cooperative Bank of Kenya, why circles or chamas love them is that it is majorly owned by cooperative groups and circles. and they pay dividends. So dividend is basically part of the profits. So even last year when most banks were not paying dividends, cooperative society paid some dividends to those circles so that they can go ahead and pay their members dividends as well. So that is just the idea of trying to find recurring income. Yes, you are taking little risk, but you are happy with 12% that you can guarantee yourself. So if you are a Chama, the first thing from an investment point of view is to build a very good defensive portfolio. In fact, as you build your consistency, please do not start with investing. Start by being consistent and saving consistently. Then you can say that maybe in the 9th month, the 12th month is when now you start looking at investments. So that is very key because it is a journey and you don't need to get ahead of yourself. There are chamas that are 20 years old, 40 years old, 10 years old. So there's no rush. Usually, if you look back, you find that there's no hurry in life and in most things. So we should have some rules written down so that in the first 6 months or 9 months, we are not going to make any investments. But even as we start, we don't want this money just sitting idle in a bank account. So what are some of the safe investment options where you can put your money? So we have some of them, like money markets, where you can get returns above the inflation rate, and they are relatively safe. But again, even within those money markets, there's a checklist that you need to look at, because we are looking at stability, and for stability, it is always good to deal with established organizations or regulated organizations, so that you can have your back covered. So long-term investments require you that you can decide that I'm going to do this defensive portfolio, or we are going to do things like treasury bonds or just money market. Then from the interest that we get, we can now try the more aggressive investment options. So the beauty of that is that you are using the interest to try out new things. But what some people do is that they work very hard, they save like 1 million, all of it, they go to start with a business as a chama. You know, first of all, running a business as an individual is not that easy. So what about a chama? The risk is very high, so that's not what to start with. Even the companies that have done big buildings, they started with different types of investments that are relatively safe. But since they have numbers, they're able to generate significant income, and from that cash flow, they can even take a bank loan such that the cash flows are the ones that they used to pay for the loan installments. So it's very, very good to look at structures from a governance point of view, write things down, because the chamas that have succeeded, most of them, they have these structures in place. So things like elections, when they're going to be done, how often, that is going to be very key. How much you contribute per month. And if there's going to be a cap, like I see some chamas, they say that a share is 200 Kenya shillings, so in a month you can buy a maximum of X number of shares. So for a young chama, you can try to limit that because, you know, because of social and human dynamics, sometimes some people might feel like the chama is actually being owned by an individual. And you need to have that sense of everyone needs to feel that sense of belonging. So those are decisions that you need to make. So how much do you want? And it's always good to put it in terms of a share. Like you can define it as 500 Kenya shillings, 1,000. It depends on the demographics and what you've agreed upon. Then in the initial phases, you can limit it. Then as you proceed as a chama, you can create buckets. E.g., you can say that there's going to be a bucket for just contribution, which will invest together, but there can also be small buckets of projects that people can subscribe. So this needs to be written so that when there's a project and someone is not able to contribute at that point in time, they won't feel left out because it is voluntary. But it should be written somewhere that you can decide to do some projects outside the main pool of savings and deposits that you have. And when you do these things, please take your time. educate members. You can have a meeting whereby you just explain why you are doing that and see if people buy the idea. So with that, you can say that you are going to buy a piece of plot, and each member needs to contribute 10,000 Kenya shillings. So people who contribute, they'll have a share in that piece of plot. So that helps you so that you have different mechanisms of creating value in the chama that can allow members to also grow. Because some members will become bored if it is just the main thing that you are doing. And you see that for most companies, after you've grown to a certain level, you want something more, right? Even Safaricom, they could have said that you are not going to do M-Pesa, but they went for that. So it's good to create these structures and learn and know that from an investment point of view, certain things change. Like now, we are debating about real estate, but before I don't think if there could have been a debate. The only way was up, right? But now it's a debate. So it just means if you are a wise investor, it's good to know when the cycles have reached the peak and know now what you can go to. So if you have some cash, it is not only about the plots. These days you've seen people doing treasury bonds. So that also means that in your investment policy, you need to have a mechanism of every year you try to review these investment options. Whether it is the stock market, is it worth it anymore? Whether it is real estate, is it worth it anymore? Or we are just there saying that we started with the matatu, whether it goes wrong or right, we are still going to go with it for 20 years. You'll have wasted a lot of time, and maybe there's a better investment opportunity. So, from a governance structure again, you need to decide what is the end goal of this term, and try to come up with milestones, especially long-term ones, so that I can see in 3 years this is where you want to reach, right? In 5 years, in 10 years. If that is not there, we'll just feel like we are headed nowhere, and that's how people get tired and they get motivated and leave chamas. So as the leaders, as members, you need to agree on where you want to be as a chama. And then as an individual, you should also have your personal goals there that you want to achieve with the chamas. Maybe you want to have 500,000 by the 10th year, or by the 5th, or by the 1st. And that 500,000 is money that will help you X, Y, Z. So that needs to be very clear. So I've seen what they call table banking. So table banking, if you look at it with the changing dynamics, it is quite risky. Or what they say that today people are going to contribute X amount of money to me, tomorrow the same will be done to you. You know, people can change their mind. And the reason why that is risky now is because the social fabric is not as strong as it used to be before. These days people move a lot. Even the friends from high school, we hear those stories of some of them calling their former classmates. So things have changed a lot. So that's why you need a structure that does not have a lot of loopholes. Yeah, because if it is just a social agreement that every month will be contributing to a member, what happens if they don't contribute when you need them to do that? What will you do? In most cases, you find that it's not worth it chasing that person. So it's very, very good to also identify the possibilities or weaknesses that can bring a chama down. Then we will mitigate them through writing down that we are only going to involve ourselves in activities X, Y, and Z. So there's an organization known as Kenyan Investment Groups. It's called KAIG, right? Yes, Kenya Association of Investment Groups. So if you go to their website, they have a very good booklet known as Chama Handbook. It's one of the best documents that I've seen around chamas. So they have for some 2 years there, but if you open it, you'll see some of the structures that they propose and some of the case studies, like Transcentury Limited was actually an investment club that grew and became very big. It was later listed. Even Home Africa So you find that story of how they did it, but it is all about governance and structures. So about structures also, it's also good to bring professionals on board when you're making certain decisions. So if there are legal decisions, try to bring someone from a legal background so that you don't just rely on expertise of the legal person in your chama, because there's always an element of conflict of interest. So if it is investments, try to hear views from 3 independent parties before you make that decision. Yeah, so if you see board members, one of the first thing before any board meeting is usually for people to declare their conflict of interest. So we are just trying to deal with non-weaknesses of human beings. Because sometimes we can be selfish and self-centered. So because of that, conflict of interest is also something that you want to mitigate. So in your investment committee, you can seek some opinion from, let's say, KCB, COP, ABSA, before you open a bank account. Rather than a member coming and saying that we have to go and open an account at Rafiki. You don't know the incentive that they have. So do your research so that when you're making a decision, you have options and you are making logical decisions. Not saying that so-and-so is the smartest person, so whatever they do is what you are going to do. At some point in time, you'll start seeing some loopholes there, and those are some of the reasons why chairmans find that they can't trust someone. But it's because they didn't have structures or they didn't think through ways of doing things. Like if you want to open a bank account, we have 38 banks. So you can't just say that it's KCB and we all go to KCB. You need to look at KCB, COP, Equity, Stanbic, have at least 5. Then you have a checklist. What do you want as a chairman? Because I remember there's a time we were in some chairman whereby the chairman had invested in some motorbikes. So each day, each motorbike was bringing around 500 Kenya shillings. So the cyclists were depositing that money in a bank account. I can't say which bank, but you know what is happening is that sometimes the cyclists won't do that. So it was in a bank account and we had access to it. So when the treasurer logged in, we didn't know that each and every time they logged into the app to check if the 500 had been deposited were being charged 30 Kenya shillings. So sometimes you do it like 5 times. You know the cyclist can lie to you. So you're just checking if they're saying the truth. So the day we went to print the statement, we found a lot of 30 Kenya shillings. It was crazy. And to make matters worse, when they deposited through M-Pesa, we were actually being charged 20 Kenya shillings to deposit through M-Pesa, while other banks were not doing that. So you see the lesson that we learned there is that before opening an account, you need to have a checklist. What kind of charges do you have? Because those charges ended up being 6,000 Kenya shillings in a year. So that was a lot. Yet, when the account was migrated to another bank, all those charges were free. Checking the account balance and depositing through M-Pesa was free. So I hope we see now why you need to have these structures and have checklists. Because after that, people are not very happy with the person who recommended that account. Yet it was not their problem. The problem is that the chairman did not take into consideration what they want in a bank account. So it's very, very important that everything that you do, try to post, there's enough time to do all those checks and make those decisions. So in terms of leadership, again, you can have some standards and encourage members to have some good financial habits. Because the chairman is an aggregate of the financial habits or the habits or reputations of all the individuals in that chairman. A good example is trying to ensure that you all file your taxes. So sometimes if you have like trustees in a chairman who are backing some properties that you have and they have tax issues or they are listed in CRB, I believe you are aware that because of just one member, the chairman might not get a tax compliance certificate if you need it. And also, if you want a loan and they are checking at the credit score of everyone, just one individual can make the chairman not to get that. It happens a lot in companies, and sometimes some chairmans, they have structures whereby they are like limited companies. So if you go to the likes of the chairman that is owning the union, they'll have that. So if one director has financial issues, it will end up affecting everyone. So it's good to know that since you are dealing with money, you need to have sessions whereby you learn about money together so that you have that shared knowledge. Because it's very difficult to tell someone that you need to fix your credit score if they don't know why they need to do that. But when everyone is taught together, maybe they'll start learning and see that for us to be this chairman, to make it successful, you need to try to budget your money, know what you need for your personal needs, things like that. And if you have an emergency, it's always good to have some emergency fund. If you do that, you're likely to be a good saver. Because if you don't have an emergency fund, it's very difficult for you to save consistently. If anything happens, you'll always find yourself in some position of debt. So since you want as many people as possible in the chairman to be good at managing their money, it's also good to teach these skills or learn them together. The person who has this knowledge in the chairman can volunteer. You share so that you walk the journey together. So she had a very good point on empowerment. So when people feel that they're being empowered in this chairman, maybe there's someone who is very good in taxation, there's someone who is very good in sales and marketing or running a business and is sharing this knowledge. People feel that being in this chairman is very useful. So if you just make it transactional, and you have what pesa yako ya last month, people feel like it is just about transactions, it's just about the money and there's no connection. So as part of the governance, we should also have some soft things that you are doing, that maybe every 2 months there's something that you are going to do that will make each and every member of the chairman to become a better person. So that is key, because if again that is not structured well, someone will say that last week or last month so came and took us through this. So this month I'm the one to do this and that, and maybe it is not well documented. So you can say every meeting, maybe 5 minutes is going to be for X and Y, so that it's clear. You don't feel like other people are being favored from a learning point of view. And when acquiring outsiders, you should also try to have a structure for identifying the best people to come. So the idea is to try to find the weak lines where things are likely to go wrong. Then you try to come up with ways of mitigating them. Because number one reason why people leave chairmans is related to structure, because there's a lot of loopholes. So what will happen is that there are some people who are generally introverts and some are extroverts. So the extroverts, if there are no structures, they can actually overrun everyone else. And the introverts also, they just keep quiet, even when their inputs are needed. So again, you need to come up with ways of engaging people. So you can come up with ideas like, if you want an idea, everyone has to say something about it. Like if it is an investment, whether it is through writing, everyone has to make a contribution. Because you can't say that you have nothing to say about an investment that is going to affect you. So either you can say you need more time to research, whether it is a week, but you need to share your opinion so that at the end of it all, the contribution is from all of the chairman members. Yeah, so just going back to that, I would say that number one reason why you need to be in a chairman should come from you. So make that connection. And the number two reason I would say that is for this chairman to grow so that it helps you to achieve your personal objectives. So when you are in a group, you always have to ensure that each team member's needs are catered for. If you miss out on that, the chairman is very unlikely to succeed, right? So maybe I joined because I wanted to get some form of insurance, to pool funds, to get a loan. If I'm not getting that, what will happen? And other people, maybe the chama is serving their needs. So when members are coming, it's also good to try to find out if you have a registration form, it should have their personal details, their next of kin or beneficiary. Then try to have a slot for, say, your top 5 reasons why you're joining this chama. I know you don't do it, but it's very, very important. So that as the chama leaders, you try to serve these needs. Because when people don't say it, then say it after they've joined that. For me, I joined because I wanted X, Y, and Z. Then everyone now is like, but this chama can't do that for you. So if that was shared in advance, maybe you could have had that discussion earlier on, so that when they are joining, they are making a compromise, and it doesn't become a problem at the end of the term. So I would say that is very, very important to have those structures, and you are happy that you have Malipo app, which will help with contributions. We have some chamas whereby we send money to an individual. Then over time, it has become a very big problem in terms of accountability. So that accountability is key. And to make people accountable, please ensure that this is written well in advance and it is known by everyone. Because there are people who naturally they don't want to be held accountable. So just ensure that before you start, you say that you are not going to have money in an individual's account, you are going to have it in the Malipo app, so that everyone can see the progress of savings. Then before you make any investment, a bank statement has to be printed, or a bank statement will be printed every year, every 6 months, because I was also in a chama whereby the day you want that bank statement, it will become a very big problem. So you wonder, how is it a problem, and the account belongs to all of us. So you need to know the challenges that are likely to be there. But that challenge was there because we were sending money to an individual. So sometimes they forget to document, then that file was not being shared with everyone on a monthly basis. So accountability is key. And what technology South African thing, with what they call Ubuntu. There's a very strong command there that you'll see that it is all about these structures that we're talking about. And if it is about an app, I think this is the first app that we have in Kenya, and people have been looking forward towards having an app that can help them manage their funds as a chairman. So I'll leave it at that, then check any questions that you might have.
When you put your money in Malipo as a tap, is there charges for when you put in their account? Are there any charges that can be taken from Malipo?
So I believe in the next session we'll be able to tackle that one. Just jot it down. And for now, we'll be able to ask any question regarding governance. You'll be able to raise up your hand and could be assisted by our guest speaker for governance. So any question regarding governance is what at least you can be able to handle. I believe it's been a session, a very didactic session that we've had regarding the structure, ethics, risk management, on how you can plan for your retirement, for your chamas and so forth. So he is able to tackle any question that you have regarding governance of your chamas. But for the other issues regarding Malipo and so forth, after the next guest speaker, then we'll be able to highlight all those questions down. We'll be able to tackle them later. Anybody with a question regarding governance?
I also want to hear how you currently run your chamas and what you think would be something possible that you can carry on with this.
Yes, for sure. I believe we'll also have around 5 minutes to get an interaction on how you are running your chamas. For now, any question regarding governance, please?
Okay, my name is Geoffrey from Kalumbe Group. I just wanted to learn from our journey. If I want maybe my chama to learn more about those investments, is it possible for one of you to come and visit us? And then do we have to pay to learn about so many investments?
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah, so what we do is that we call investment forums for chamas. Like tomorrow evening, I'll be holding one for 40 doctors in Uganda. So what we do is that when they have their sessions, the normal meetings, they call us in for about 1 hour. Then we can structure it so that within that 1 hour, we have covered the investment options that are available. Then we tell them the kind of returns that they should expect, the kind of risk, so that at the end of it all, the decision will be from their end. Yeah, so we charge a facilitation fee for that, and usually it depends on the size of the channel and whether it is online or physical. Yeah, but it's a very friendly rate, so you can always get in touch with us, even before making investment decisions. Sometimes just one phone call could have saved a chama a lot, but you find that once they've made that decision, when now they come to you, and now they start asking, like someone was asking me, will we get our fund from Cyton, something like that. But it's very difficult for me now to assist in such a situation. But before making the decision, what we do is that we give you a checklist where you can actually see some of these things by yourself, like the size of the fund, the stability, if they have a bank account or how it is done, board members, so that from there you can just see logically that yes, I love these 3 companies, but this one seems to be the best. Yeah, so we just help, because investment is a logical decision. So we try to make it as logical as possible, and we do that for chamas.
Anybody with another question? Hope you answered.
Maybe another question.
Sure.
Yes. Just about the chamas on governance. You find some members drag their feet into the chama, and it takes you too long. So do you have to let them accompany you, or you have to take the best and go with them forward?
We would allow me to hold on to that thought. We just pick another question because we're running out of time for this session. Let's get maybe 2 more, then we can be able to interact with the guest speaker later on. We have a break.
As a chama, I wanted to ask, because our chama is raising a lot of funds in different ways. You're one chama, but you find out contributions come out in different ways. We have the contribution we have. Someone is sick in the hospital, or when someone is having, is doing maybe you want to build a home. There's some money we move separate, and maybe we have that money which also will move for the plot, not where a plot, and then we have normal municipal banking, and still you contribute money for merry-go-round. So you get all this fund is being handled with one person. And sometimes you get confusion because she's the only person who is handling that money. So when you ask some question about someone, we send them on the phone. So you find out it's hard for her to manage. He doesn't understand this one this. So when you come to Malipo, will you open different accounts or will you open one account at a chama? So that you understand this one was for this one for this. That's what I wanted to find out.
Thank you. That's a very good question.
All right, for sure.
Team Malipo will answer that.
Yes.
And the whole idea is something known as money bucket. Because I remember in Safaricom Circle, when you're doing a share deposit, there's shares and we have shares and deposits. So they say that if it is a share, you write your ID, then S at the end. If it is a deposit, just write your ID like that. So I believe that share will do that. But the concept of money bucket is very key because it helps you to know that when I'm sending money, this is for welfare and the rest. But from a governance point of view, I think random contributions could actually be detrimental to a chama. What you can do is that if you have predictable things like that, try to have a welfare fund that then can be used for that. You can say that in a year, let everyone contribute 2,000, then if something happens, you'll be deducting X amount of money. Because you might find that you've just contributed today, then again something happens tomorrow and people are overwhelmed. People are overwhelmed, then some members start feeling like they're not being helped. So welfare is a good thing in a chama, but it's good to formalize it, so that makes it very easy to manage it. But from a money bucket point of view, Malipo team will assist you.
So I believe this could mark as the last question in the meantime, because we need to, I don't know whether you'll allow me to give the gentleman the head. Do you allow me to do that? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Calvin. We are having a boys club. And the main reason why we started the boys club was to generally put funds together. And looking at our ages now, we are looking forward to build as in a pool of finance that is going to help us in the old age. The question here is, we don't have a formalized way of governing the boys club. We are doing it freestyle. That's one. Two, because we have Malipo, and the problem has been the money. You know, where your money is, where your heart beats. Okay? So that is taken care of. So from where you are, okay, from your expert point of view, is it okay or is it sustainable to have the boys club running on freestyle while our financial part is taken care of? Like, for example, what we do is we have a rotational chairperson who runs for 1 year. So when it's done, then the next person picks up. We don't have the treasurer and the state secretary. It's too much of writing and a bit of those things. So from your expert point of view, my question is that sustainable? And what advice can you give running it on freestyle?
Thank you for that question. What we should also ask you more is, what is your end goal in your boys club? Pesa ile mnapata ni ya mkahawani ama ni gani? But at least you already have a structure, 1 year for the chairperson. And I believe you're in the right place because you already have a treasurer. Treasurer is Malipo now for you, but that's something that you've learned later on. Let me allow the guest speaker to know.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. So usually I like when we have such candid conversation. So one thing that we've had is that some members can be pulling the chairman down from his end, and from your end, you are actually implicitly pulling your chairman down. But it's not wrong because when you start, things won't be perfect, but you can learn and improve things over time. So what I would say is that as boys club. Actually, it's very good for you to come together. But please, the first thing is to make that connection. Like, if you want to use that money for your old age, at an individual level, just try to see how much you need during your retirement or how much you need out of that chama, and where are you going to invest it? Because you know, saving is not investing. If you are saving at less than 6.4% currently in Kenya, you're actually losing money by saving. So those are the things that now you start to see. And I would like you to visualize where you want to go and put it down, so that you see, currently we are contributing 50,000, maybe by end of next year we'll be at 300,000, like that. That will open your eyes. And you know, the reasons why people like games is because games help us to express ourselves in different ways. And also a vision will gamify your mind, because now you'll see it in your mind that actually this is something that I can do. And that will motivate you to be disciplined. So without that vision and where you're going, it is just okay. Every day is okay. Today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday. Nothing matters. But once you see what is possible, then you'll even find people spending more time running with Chama. And sometimes, if you think that you can't afford a professional, you can just say that maybe at the end of every year or 6 months, you can bring someone who does bookkeeping to help you put everything in order. So you might find that you might need to pay them only 5,000 or 3,000, but they'll have done so much for you to have a better picture of your Chama. So that connection is key. And to make that decision, you need to know where you are headed. Without that, then it becomes very difficult, and people lose. They'll become less motivated when things are just being done in a disorganized way. So I think you've done the most important thing of getting started and being on Malipo. Now on that layer, from an investment point of view, try to get returns above 8%, above 6% for a start. Then also have goals on where you want to go with this Chama. So it's always good to have it for people to be motivated. So without goals, no one will be motivated to do anything, because every Kipchoge knows that when he's going to Japan, he's going for gold. For that reason, he's motivated. But if it was just going, whether you are walking, going sideways, it doesn't matter. Most people want to be motivated to even attend the event. So that motivation is key, and it needs to be brought down by, it needs to be written down in terms of goals and where you want to go, and clarity for all members. Yeah, so that's key. You can even say that at retirement you want to have cash flow of X amount of money per month. So from the money that you save, you can see that if you are getting 10% per year, how much will you be getting? If that is the goal for retirement. So that will help you to be more aggressive in your saving and investment. So thank you very much for your contributions, and I wish you very well in your Chamas. So if you want to get in touch with us, my number is 0726 65 0062. 0726 650062. So my name is Robert Ochieng, the CEO of Abajani. So if your chairman needs someone just to give them a second view of what they are looking at in terms of investment, especially the structured market. So that is any question on bank accounts, money market funds, the stock market, treasury, bills and bonds. We can help, even a circle. So thank you very much, and I wish you well. So my biggest thing for you is that when you are getting into Malipo, it will do a lot of things for you in terms of managing your fund consistently. But I know that they are working very hard to bring several products, so please take advantage of them. Like insurance, now there's a very good cover for funeral. So if you are in a Chama, you don't even need to be related in any way, you just need to be a group of people. And you'll find very good covers that can help you. So make that connection so that when you're putting that 5,000 to Malipo, know why you're putting it. If you don't know why you're putting it, you might be the reason why that Chama will not succeed. So know why you're putting that money in that Chama. encourage everyone learn and grow together. As you become big, Malipo will become big, and all of us will succeed. Thank you.
Bwana Robert Ucheng, thank you so much for a very good session. And thank you so much for taking us through governance in Chamas. For those ones who've walked in late, this is Malipo breakfast, and we intend to have 3 more sessions. But I believe, to just give a recap on what we've heard from Robert Ocheng, is that some of us in this generation think that we can find everything on a silver plate. Just the way you found your father and your mother has built a house. So we never mostly struggle. And that's why in Japan, we don't start making profits and advancing into investment stages. We break out. And then if we have accountability and transparency issues, this is when now we actually start losing even our friendship and the other bond within the Chama. So I believe we've been able to know exactly what is required of us in terms of the structure. And well, with governance, we believe that matters to do with ethics, compliance, matters to do with risk management, wealth management, debt management, succession, retirement are things that we need to put into consideration. Because when you begin a chama, then how long do you intend to have that chama? And then if there is somebody who won't be around, how will this person be succeeded? And also in terms of retirement, and if somebody comes of age, how do you replace this person in your chama? So there are many things that we've been able to capture from this session. And it's my belief that as we continue growing our career, as well as entrepreneurship skills, we also need to gather a lot of information on how we can grow our money, grow the career, save, and then at long run, invest. Yeah, I heard also the speaker talk about the libertarian movement, whereby we feel like we don't need the government or any kind of governance, but it came out well that if you do not also have an investment committee, at long run, you will have somebody to start blaming. So then that's why you're in the right place this morning to learn on how you can throw away this kind of blame of transparency issues, accountability, and work with one app that you can even use with your mobile phone, and as we will be learning from the next session. So what I would like us to do is to break for around 10 minutes because we are running out of time for the next session. Just when you move out on your left, so on your right, the other side, you'll find the gents and the ladies in case you want to have a small break. And I would like to indicate whether there's something we will be taking during this break. Yeah, so we'll be having some refreshments with us, so you can also get some from behind that. But in case of any information you need about Malipo, this is the right session, so don't go away. The next session is the meat of the entire breakfast, and we'll get to learn on how you can open your Malipo app using your Google and App Store. We'll also learn on how you can have it on your browser, because it's now been made so easy, very seamless. Because you need to have your Jama, your fundraiser, your Malipo for business, loans, within funds, and so forth. So there are many things that we intend to learn in the next session. So do not go. Well, this is the main session that you need to learn. Otherwise, welcome also again to Malipo Breakfast. Feel very free, and we believe that this financial literacy is very important for all of us in Chamas. And at the end of the session, we hope that we have carried very good tips on how we can run our Chamas. So let's have some music or some entertainment as we pray. So we can continue interacting. It's a free session as well. Know each other. And maybe I could also say when we come back, we'd like to hear from your Chamas on how you handle your governance, and maybe you already have an app or anything else that is running your Chamas, so that at least we learn from each other. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Next one is say, okay, now this project, we have all project sales. The first criteria is say we want to be able to buy land and they do what is the investment they will start with, say 2 million. And they try to tell us what's going to spend that investment. That becomes a saving, let's say 1 million in 6 months. Then we now start the project in say once actually find the asset. When they do not find the investment and efficiency together, like the first place actually how do we then start looking at this point? We're actually finding asset either share we can sell, we can use add value, starting some of the project name. So that has been one of the most successful things that we've seen. Another one of them, the way they save, most of them then realize instead of us getting loan sources, you know, you're lending to yourself to grow these funds. At one point, you only invest when you then go to the bank, usually in general. Because then in themselves, when the interest then part of the channel, that's how we grow the value, the assets, or the things that we have in the platform. So those have been some of the two big challenges that we've had. Of course, again, distribution and processes around that, these elements, and the official. Lakini sasa problem nani? Kwa hivyo sasa tuchunguze wetu wangapi ni wangapi? Basi tuchague mwaminifu. Usimdanganye. Kuna vile anapenda pombe, si atafikiria tunamtajia angekuwa. Sasa tutakuwa nani? Malipo mtu atujui. Malipo kitu unafanya inatikisa transparency. Yaani inaonyesha pesa imechangwa ngapi inatumika. It's so, pesa ndio